Hi there, my name is Jay McNeal, and welcome to the next episode of the Be Doing Faith podcast. So I am going to try and use the teleprompter for some of today's episode. So I'm looking for some feedback. You will probably be able to tell when I'm reading and when I'm not reading. So let me know which you prefer. And the teleprompter, the speeds are either too fast or too slow. I've tried them both. So I'm going to do a little starting and stopping of it. And let me know if any of that is distracting or perceived. All right. If you haven't met my cat yet, here it is. This is Lily. Lily, look up here. Okay, that's the cat. If you're listening, she's just cute. So the changes in technology have exploded the ways that individual faith leaders are able to do ministry. Our series of episodes about the Faith Leader Directory are because of the enormity and the possibilities to change and grow everything about how faith leaders accomplish ministry going forward. One episode, one commercial won't do it justice. We said previously that the Faith Leader Directory is a unique development because it is all faith leaders in one place. For the first time, all faith leaders within and beyond the employment in a specific congregation can opt to be found side by side, no matter which religion or subcategory of their faith they align with. If you are not driving and you want to research the directory right now while you're listening, go to faithleaderdirectory.com in another window or another tab. In the last episode, we asked, who is the Faith Leader Directory for? The answers, one, everyone, because everyone in every household is going to need a faith leader someday, regardless of whether or not a household is religious or not. Two, it's for faith communities. Every faith community should obviously list themselves if they want to be found. It's a no-brainer. Often people are doing a Google search to find a faith community, but not for your specific brand, sect, or denomination within your tradition. We are designed to help people find all the faith leaders and faith communities that are nearby. So if your faith community is nearby, you want people to find you. And three, here's the earth-shattering topic for today, the game changer. Although we are also designed, that is the Faith Leader Directory, to help faith communities, the reason the Faith Leader Directory is the solution for now and the future is that the Faith Leader Directory is designed for individual faith leaders. It is literally called the Faith Leader Directory. It is not called the Faith Communities Directory. Even though we have included faith communities, and faith communities would be foolish to shoot themselves in the foot, basically, hiding from people who want to join them, whether they fail to add or claim their listing in the Faith Leader Directory. So that was if they fail to list themselves, right? Faith communities will be shooting themselves in the foot. Okay. Don't do that. The Faith Leader Directory is for everyone in the general public to find faith leaders and faith communities to list their communities so that people can find them. And three, individual faith leaders to list their individual selves. Changes for independent faith leaders. I'm going to pause that for a second. And actually, there was something else I wanted to add here. Okay, so faith leaders in America have been sort of a caricature, right? They've been this iconic image of really some white man leading a congregation with a pretty wife and some children, right? I am oversimplifying for sure, and that has changed some more recently. If you've seen the t-shirts, there are so many women in ministry, and they're smart enough to be wearing a t-shirt that says, this is what a faith leader looks like, or this is what a pastor looks like, or this is what a preacher looks like. Okay. Faith leaders are barely able to have any non-mainstream qualities, enjoying fiction authors or rap music, for example. Never mind if you're female, an immigrant, bisexual, queer, or a person of color. Until today, faith leaders that were not employed by a congregation could not earn enough money to answer their calling, could not serve, and often had to let that faith leader part of them wither. And so they would go find a job someplace else because they couldn't afford to be a minister, right? The only people that could afford to be a minister in their main identity tended to be people who were pastoring congregations. And that's been true for a long time. The thing that has made that change, okay, number one, is technology. And thinking of technology, it's changed the distance, right, between people that we serve. Okay. So first, it changes the ability to be found by people nearby in the faith leader directory. So the technology will tell you who is nearby, which is one of the main pieces of this. Right now, people have no way to find out all of the faith leaders that are around them. They are surrounded by faith leaders, and there's no way to locate all of them. It is very complex because faith leaders have not previously put themselves in one single place where you could look them up. Okay? If you wanted to look up all of the Southern Baptists, you might be able to do that, or a particular subsect of Judaism. You could look them up perhaps on a website, right? Because they're in associations together, but they do not then put themselves into one larger pool so that the general public can locate all faith leaders that are nearby. This is an elementary function of what we're doing. The technology is available to let people locate every single faith leader that's nearby. You can search by 10 miles, 25 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, who is nearby. So if you are a faith leader and you want to serve the people that are nearby, this is a great tool for you. If you are a faith community that wants to serve people that are nearby, this is a great tool for you. The technology also allows faith leaders to be found by people all around the world. The distance does not keep us apart. It also changes the togetherness of faith leaders. So faith leaders, professional collegiality. You can now discover the other faith leaders that are near you and develop friendships and develop trust, discover each other. Okay. So then you can now, that facilitates you knowing each other and working together, building a relationship. All of this sounds like things we should already be doing, right? Should have been done before. Let's do this today. It also allows faith leaders to be seen together, online and perhaps elsewhere. And so we're all living in silos, right? In those different associations and denominations, our religious identities. And we might know those that are similar to us, right? So the Lutherans might know the Baptists, might know the Presbyterians, okay? But not usually. When individual faith leaders add their own images and profile, then they become part of a brand new living snapshot of faith leaders working together and willing to serve the world together. There is truly a psychic snapshot of your face alongside other faces of faith leaders, religions, traditions, beliefs, and spiritualities that literally rewires the viewer's brains with a brand that's interwoven perception of diverse faith leaders working together to care for every soul in the world, including the soul that is looking at the screen in that instant. Every single time a new screen is seen, then a brain receives that message. These faith leaders, these individual faith leaders with their individual unique faces are here for me, care for me, care for my spouse, care for my child, care for my parents, care for everyone. The person searching might be worried about their friends or sibling who lives halfway around the world and doesn't know how to support that person around the world. So they're searching. They may not have been searching for that person, but that person comes to mind, right? So in the moment, they go ahead and do a search. They look on the faith leader directory to see if there's a faith leader near their friend halfway around the world. They might discover that there's a Buddhist nearby, and that Buddhist is willing to meet with a friend the next day, and they have a conversation over a cup of coffee. How powerful is that? Faith leaders and faith communities in the faith leader directory are not competing with one another. Everyone is working together to support the spiritual and emotional health of all people. Although caring for the whole world together has always been possible, with good leadership, today's technologies ought to embarrass us for not doing better. And while religious nationalism and political authoritarianism threaten to erase humanity's very slow march toward equal justice and civil liberties, it is critical that all faith leaders within and beyond faith communities, that is, all faith leaders, join hands and voices to support healthy, caring, respectful relationships between and among all of humankind. Technology may be the biggest factor facilitating all of the change for individual faith leaders, but it is not the only one. Postmodernism is something that was a buzzword from a little while ago. We don't talk about it very much anymore, but I see it all the time. And part of that is because I spent most of my adult life in higher education at different seminaries and colleges. I did part of it in the Army, different parts of the United States, and some parts visiting other parts of the world. And the difference between modernists and postmodernists is stark. It's not a strict division by ages, but I feel like I straddled the cusp of both modernists and postmodernists. And the point really is that postmodernists, the story matters most, the individual matters most. And so they're happy to be served by an individual. They are distrustful of organizations, of institutions. They're pluralists and trying to figure out how a bunch of things hang together. And if you say something that's untrue, whether you believe it or it's a lie, you're done. Nothing else that you say is going to matter. Your truth and your authenticity matter above all else. Okay? So they will listen and respect you, and they'll take what they can gather from the stories of your life and what you might have to teach them, as long as you are authentic about it. Okay? You might demonstrate that what you believe and understand to be true is not true for them, and that helps them in their growth. And they will take that and they will be grateful for that by and large. So if you don't think you have all the skills to sort of work with people in the public, that you only get your authority as a faith leader from belonging to a congregation or being part of a religion to which you are most loyal, then you will struggle. Your willingness to make yourself, your identity known, okay? And how you do that is by showing up and being vulnerable. You can do that online, you can do that in person, but people are going to look for you online first. They're going to have some experience of you online first, most of the time, because they can. They're going to save themselves time. They're not going to go sit in a congregation very often and listen to a bunch of services and a bunch of sermons in the comfort of your institution to determine if you are trustworthy, if you are safe, if you are good, if you are kind, if you are inclusive. They're going to do this as best they can from afar. But if you have a traditional church website, it is very hard to discern much from there. They will go look at your website, and if there are red flags, they will not go. But it is hard to have an experience of a person and feel like you have a sense of an individual person unless there's recordings and interactions. Okay? So the technology has changed and it helps the postmodernist. Okay? But you need to make yourself available as an individual. And that individual is much more effective and satisfying to a postmodernist than the institutionalists. So be willing to make yourself available. Even if you're an introvert, that's fine. Like, make a few recordings, let people have a sense of who you are, and be honest about who you are. There's also another huge factor, and this is basically a result of the technology, is there's virtually no cost for entry. Faith Leader Directory and its sister ministry, which we'll talk about later and next, is more advanced and a little more complex. It's called Be Kind Humans, bekindhumans.com. And these are now virtually no cost to enter, right? For a faith leader to be in the Faith Leader Directory is very little, if not zero. To have a ministry space inside of Be Kind Humans is very little also. So nearly nobody can say they cannot afford to be a faith leader in their identity, in their service. You do not need to be employed by a congregation. You do not have to have 50 or 100 or 500 people behind you. Your credentialing, your expertise is important, right? That is not to say that those things are irrelevant. You do not need to go rent an office building anymore. You can be found digitally, even if you do your ministry in person, or you can do your ministry digitally, right? All of those are open options available to you, which leads me to the last change for individual faith leaders. Ministry has historically been those congregational positions that we think about for the last maybe 100 years, where you pastor a congregation and you're still expected to be a generalist. Okay? It has been said that pastors are the last generalists in society. Every job, vocation is getting increasingly specialized. It is now true that you can specialize in ministry. And as congregations shrink, this is part of the solution to how congregations survive. Okay? If you are in a congregation, you can downsize and have less staff. You may have to go from a full-time minister to a half-time minister or some part-time ministry. Now you can find ministers that can specialize, right? If we bring all of the individual faith leaders who have been sitting on the bench, on the sidelines, not able to participate in ministry, we bring all of those thousands of ministers off of the benches to help serve in the world in these specialized ways that they are experts, talented, and called to serve. Now you can serve in those ways, right? There are a lot of ministers pastoring congregations who would prefer to specialize, but they cannot stay in ministry, is their perception, unless they are doing the generalist's job. So there are a lot of ministers that could leave congregational ministry and go do the thing that they feel called to specifically. Maybe it's retreats, maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's preaching, maybe it's prayers, okay? Maybe it's chaplaincy, maybe it's hospital visits, maybe it's home visits. There are an infinite number of things that people can feel called to, and now you can do just that. If there's something you want to do and there are other things you don't want to do, you no longer have to do the things you don't want to do, basically. You can do ministry for free. You can do ministry for a cost. Still your choice. You can start a congregation. You can start a congregation online in a digital space and build that congregation from scratch. You can move a congregation that's in a building and put it into a virtual space. Okay? That's part of what Be Kind Humans is, or has the capacity for. Infinite number of solutions. I cannot give you every case scenario. Point is that faith leaders can now specialize, okay, which they've really done forever. But the technology has made it so that you can put yourself out there digitally in the faith leader directory and at bekindhumans.com and be found. The Be Kind Humans space is more interactive. Okay? That's the big difference. The faith leader directory is a directory. Okay? You should be in the directory. That is the simple part, easy part. Do that first. And then you can examine and explore bekindhumans.com. All right. Thanks for tuning in to Be Doing Faith podcast, okay, where we have been talking about one of the sister ministries, the Faith Leader Directory. Okay. And even if you went before, be sure to go to faithleaderdirectory.com now to do any or all of the following. 1, search for faith leaders or faith communities. 2, claim, it's a very specific word, claim your listing if it's already there. Okay? Add any faith community, just don't add them twice. Okay? Make sure they're not already in the directory. And if they're not, you can add them. Then they can come later and claim them. Number 4, add a listing for yourself if you are a faith leader. It does not matter if you are employed by a faith community or not. Add your individual listing if you are a faith leader. Add your individual listing if you are a faith leader. The record is skipping. Add your individual listing. There should be zero confusion at this point for you if you identify as a faith leader in any capacity, within or beyond a congregation. Do not eat dinner tonight without first adding your individual listing if you are a faith leader. My emphasis here is not for my own sake. I am aware that I am pleading with you now, and this is to shake you out of the usual wiring of your brain if you're a faith leader. I'm a faith leader too. I understand that you are not wired to promote yourself. We do not promote ourselves individually. It's why a lot of faith pastors of congregations refuse to add themselves to the faith leader directory. They already think that they're out there on their church website. They think if people want to find me, I'm already there. Okay? There are things they're not understanding about how people are looking for them. So it's not about you. This is about the people that need you to come out of hiding. It is about the people that need to find you. Help them find you. Add your faith community. Add your faith yourself if you're a faith leader, so that when the rest of the world comes to look for you, they can find you and they can be served by you, which is, I believe, the intention that you had when you became a faith leader. I hope this is helpful. I am confident that it can be. Thanks for tuning in to the Be Doing Faith podcast. Have a good day.